Superman gets married 3 times, and each time his wife dies. You know you want to know. Usually when we take a dip into these Silver Age romances, we're in Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane marrying people who aren't Superman. But this time we're in the realm of they do get married, but it goes poorly. Plus it's an imaginary tale, one that was taken and put into the volume DC's Greatest Imaginary Stories Volume 1. Imaginary stories have been going around this channel recently. Time for recording. We were talking about Alfred and his penchant for writing fan fiction and then sharing it with Bruce, and it's about him. It's about Batman, and his future life being married to Batwoman. If you missed those, I'll link it below. The story we're about to look at 100% deserves the title of one of the great imaginary tales, if not for content, purely for the fact that it's so entertaining. It's Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, issue 51 from the year 1964. The 3 Wives of Superman. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and let's discuss the tragic fate of Superman's wives. But quickly, before we dive into the madness, I have an announcement. We have new shirts, Lois Lane shirts, designed by a fan of the channel who also has their own really cool shop, Doc Multiverse. Go check them out. There's all kinds of fun designs there. And if you're interested in picking up a Lois Lane So Handsome shirt or sticker or mug, then you know where to go. The link will be down below. So handsome. And now we must dive back into the tragedy of Superman's marriages. Sad. This story, Tragedy of Tragedies, it's hard to track down who wrote it, but Kurt Schaffenberger drew it. The cover gives us so much. The 3 wives in question are Lois, Lana, and Lori, all with the surname Superman, supplanting their original L last names, LL. Lori is drawn like she has legs, like she's just wearing a fin. She's his mermaid girlfriend from college. We did a whole retrospective on her. It was a good time.
The 3 girls I love the most, each died after I married her. I've lost them forever.
Comics Code approved. So how do they die then? We have to play inside of a lot of lines. It's quite convoluted, so strap in. And best of all of these stories, they're interconnected. This isn't one of those things where, oh, what if in this universe he married Lois and in this one Lana? No, they all get married to him in the same story, in a row. All of his love interests dead in the same universe. First up, Lois. I mean, her name is on the magazine cover. She should go first. We need to at least give her the courtesy of dying first. Our imaginary tale, which may or may not ever happen, begins one day at the Daily Planet office. May I interrupt your conversation with Perry long enough, Superman, to ask you one question? Will you marry me?
Lois, you can't be serious. Have you no pride proposing to me?
Look at his face. He's disgusted, but he still says yes.
And he has the gall to be smug about it.
You mean it? You aren't joking?
Of course not. I've loved you secretly for years. Since you're brave enough to face the risks, I'd be proud to have you for my bride. And if I can successfully complete a certain experiment, I'll be able to give you superpowers for life.
Her initial question was a very valid one. Superman has pulled all kinds of pranks and tricks in the Silver Age, and sometimes they involve almost marrying her. He's faked her out a few times regarding this, but not this time. Soon, as the entire world watches via Telestar Relay TV, I now pronounce you man and wife. At last, the man I love is mine. Or Lana must be heartsick because Superman has married Lois instead of her. Jimmy looks a little sad. Maybe he thinks his friendship with Superman will wane now that his super pal is marrying my sister. If I married Jimmy, he and Superman would become brothers-in-law. It has nothing to do with how Lucy feels. They need to maintain their friendship.
Lois made Lana be a bridesmaid for this? That's ice cold.
Now, the logic that is always given behind Superman not marrying Lois is that it would be too dangerous. That is for this time period. People would be trying to kill her left, right, center, not safe. One day he's just gonna open his fridge, she's gonna be inside it. But in this story, he already claimed that he has a solution, a kind of super serum. They will give her powers just like his. Now, while she waits for this, Lois is living her best life. Alone, Lois makes an entry in a diary whose rare alloy covers are jewel-studded, a gift from one of Superman's alien friends.
Which one? Tell us which one.
Diary. Another glorious day. Superman is so sweet and attentive to me. He's the best husband any underlined girl ever had. I love him so. The thing is, people are actually trying to kill her all the time, but by this logic, they could also have tried this while she was his girlfriend, because allegedly that was public knowledge. However, she doesn't have to worry for long, for Superman perfects his serum, and Lois soon has super strength, flight, and is invulnerable. Her costume is purple and green. Those are Lex's colors. I've seen Lois marry Lex too many times to not think that maybe it was going in that direction, but it didn't. The twist here is not that she's gone evil. It's so much better. Later, at the fortress,
Lois, why are you experimenting in the laboratory?
I've studied your research notes. I hope to discover a way I can gain supervision, too. Oh, all the other powers aren't enough.
Need the supervision or it's not complete.
I want to be as completely super powerful as you, honey. I feel it'll bring us even closer.
Lois, I forbid you to experiment here. Some of the elements you're handling are extremely dangerous. So are the devices in here that I'm working on. You may not be invulnerable to everything.
Just what is the limbo ring? Clark, what's the limbo ring? You can't just put that there and then not use it. Shame. Anyway, Lois is dying. Superman's super serum poisoned her. He killed her. One of the ingredients inside of it was toxic. She goes to Kandor to get this confirmed, and the doctor there gives her 8 days to live. Poor Superman. He doesn't know that a side effect of the super serum will soon kill me. But I meant it when I told him I'd rather be married to him a short time and die than to have never known his love. He must carry on bravely, without sorrow or regret. I've got to write down what I feel, but I'll destroy the diary before the end. So she's going to keep this a secret from Superman, but this also means that she has to keep taking the serum because it wears off at certain interims, and so each time she takes it, she's dying a little bit faster. Even though she's getting more and more poisoned, she's determined to make Superman's last days with her the best. But there are limits to even a superwoman's endurance.
Why, you're crying. Is something wrong, Lois?
Of course not. Those are tears of happiness. I love being helpful to you. Can't let him know the truth. On her last day, she sends him off to look for a space jewel that she's pretending that she wants. Then she goes to set up her death. The journal inside the incinerator. It doesn't end up staying there though. She's so messed up and fading that she accidentally trips and hits that earthquake machine that we saw earlier. Missed opportunity. Now we'll never get to know what the limbo ring does. A split second before death claims Lois forever, a final thought engulfs her consciousness. Thank you for loving me, darling. Those few months as your wife meant more to me than 10 lifetimes would have meant spent without you. Goodbye. Have no regrets. No regrets. No regrets. Lois's journal gets spirited away by one of the animals inside the fortress, and so Superman doesn't find it when he gets back, just her corpse. Shortly, Superman returns to the fortress. Where's the jewel, Clark? I don't see it.
She's dead. Why didn't Lois obey my warning not to experiment with the dangerous elements? She wanted supervision to bring her closer to me. Now we're apart forever. Oh, Lois. Joke, Lois.
Everyone on Earth and elsewhere is shocked at the tragedy which has befallen the Man of Steel.
I loved her like a daughter.
My heart goes out to Superman in his grief. Though I wanted to marry him myself, I sincerely wished happiness for him and Lois. The whole universe adored her wit and kindness. Who is this random alien? He clearly did not know her. Silver Age Lois can be remembered for many things. Kindness is not one of them. Lois is dead, so Superman quits. Forget the Earth.
Now that the woman I loved is gone, nothing matters to me. And more, I'm quitting Earth. My super crusading here has come to an end. Supergirl will carry on for me. Goodbye.
Did Kara agree to this? Part 2. The Tragic Torment of Mrs. Lana Superman. For our Lana wedding, we have to jump 1 year later. At this point, after wandering around mourning in space, Superman returns to Earth and finds the diary. So he learns that it was his questionable science which killed Lois, and also that she wanted him to keep being Superman, so he's gonna do that. In his absence, Lex has reformed. Shortly, the Daily Planet issues an extra containing 2 big stories, which appear unrelated, but will soon be anything but that. Superman will resume his career on Earth. Scientific criminal Lex Luthor announces he's quitting crime. Gives medical world astounding cure for heart disease. Lex cured heart disease, and he still can't get the main headline. Stop giving Lex villain origins. He already has so many. Lana interviews Lex, and there's some amusing for the time language, just based in terms of shifting meanings over time. What do I want most of all now that I've gone straight? A wife and kids. How he's changed. Now that he's no longer evil, there's a certain attractiveness about him. The reformed Luthor dates Lana often. Then one day, marry me and I'll treat you like a queen. Please say yes. I accept. Now that I know Superman will never marry me, I'll wed Luthor. It's better than being an old maid. Tale as old as time. Lex, you can do better than this. You cured heart disease. Superman takes right up to their wedding to realize that, you know what? He does love Lana. Let's give this marriage a shot. He interrupts the wedding at the speak now or forever hold your peace part and proposes to her at her own wedding, which Jimmy is the best man for. Why is Jimmy Lex's best man? What happened in that year Clark was away? Lana says yes, and they co-opt the wedding already in progress, and she just marries Superman instead. Congratulations! If this is my reward for going straight, I'd rather be a crook again. From now on, I'll live only for the day when I'll be revenged against both of you. Justified. That was awful. Poor Lex. But yay, true love or something. Now that they're married, Superman can reveal himself to Lana, showing that she was right all those years ago in Smallville. He was Clark Kent. All that gaslighting and manipulation, what good childhood fun. But there's no need to hide anything from me now. You know, dear, when you worked at the planet, I used to worry that you cared more for Lois than you did for me. Did you?
There's only one way to answer a question like that. I adore you.
Yes, dear. Also, wait a minute. They didn't show him telling Lois his secret identity. He told her, right? He told her that he was Clark, right? It's not all those years of being tricked that Lana can't get over. It's the idea that maybe he liked Lois more than her. Does he love Lois more than he loves her? Meanwhile, Clark is trying to perfect a non-deadly superhero serum. Things come to a head when they go to visit Kandor, and Superman is kissed by a woman who looks just like Lois.
This isn't Lois, it's Sylvia, a double of Lois. Meet her husband, Van Z, who amazingly is a double of me. These twins are their children.
Yes, all of that is true, but why did she run up and kiss him on the mouth like that in front of her husband and kids? I have questions. Lana's concerns are not coming out of nowhere. All of these things lead to Lana becoming obsessed with the idea that Clark is still in love with Lois, and so she starts snooping around, and she finds this safe, and inside of it appear to be images of Lois. So that's it. That's the last straw. She takes the spaceship that Superman got her as her wedding present, and she's off. Now, I thought she was going to be straight up killed by Lex, who had become a space pirate after the humiliation at his own wedding, as you do. And she does bump into him, but instead he starts telling her about his plans to destroy Superman with gold kryptonite, removing his powers forever. In a bid to stop him, she accidentally turns on this death ray that's pointed backwards, and so it hits her. I don't care what you space cops do to me now. I'm avenged. Nothing can save Superman's wife. She'll soon be dead from my death ray.
Shut up, murderer.
I love this random space cop. Also, ice cold. Lex didn't even call her by her name. Superman's wife. But before Lana dies, she has to be shown to be in the wrong. Superman wasn't cheating on her. Those images were Sylvia again. He was making her and her husband Van Z some busts for their wedding anniversary. You know Superman loves a good bust or statue.
Too late. My second wife Lana is dead. She sacrificed her life so I could continue my career. I won't let her down. But as for ever falling in love again, I don't even want to think about it. All I know is that I'll always remember and love Lana.
Next up, Lori. Watch out. The shocking fate of Mrs. Lori Superman. Why do they draw the mer people like they have legs? Kurt, why? For those up on their Lori Lemaris Silver Age lore, you may remember that by this point, Lori was married. Her mermaid husband, Renal, he's gotta go. Renal made the mistake of existing, and so he dies. Meanwhile, a tragedy occurs at sea, over Atlantis, as Lori the mermaid and her husband, Renal, seek to save some whales from hunters. A harpoon intended for the whales has struck me. And just like that, the guilt is gone. Lori, dearest, you and Superman once loved each other. Don't grieve for me. I'm already dead. Find happiness with him if you can. Goodbye, Renal. Not even love. Goodbye. Lori is a telepath, and so she invites Superman to come to the funeral that way. After spending some time together, Superman starts to think, maybe, another marriage. Third time could be the charm. There's a cool panel here that's a flashback to when Lori left Superman for Renal, and it's drawn by Schaffenberger, but in the style of Wayne Boring, who drew a lot of Superman before, and whose style Schaffenberger imitated when he was recommended to DC for this job, even though he didn't like the style and found it lifeless. It's a good imitation though. Just knowing that history makes me appreciate this one panel so much more, and you do really see the difference in how Schaffenberger drew facial expressions. Superman's convinced he's cursed, which there is some evidence to back that up, but Lori wants to assuage his fears. So she takes him to a machine that should calculate how happy they would be if they did marry.
The computer's verdict is a favorable one, and so, please marry me, Lori.
Your marriage will be long, happy, and unmarred by tragedy. Did she consult this computer before marrying Renal? Did it tell her that he was gonna die by harpoon? Yay, another Superman wedding. It's under the sea though, so Jimmy can't be here. They get married, and from there it was just a guessing game for me. How is she going to die? Now at first I thought it was gonna be through time travel shenanigans, because they have their honeymoon in Atlantis in the past before it sank. But no, that was a fake out. It was too obvious. Clark takes Lori back to the fortress where he starts to resume work on that super serum. He's gonna get it to be non-lethal one of these days. He sets up a saltwater tank for Lori.
I've installed several tanks in the fortress since you must spend 8 hours a day in saltwater. I hope that watching me trying to create a permanent super serum isn't boring you.
I love being near you. But the fortress isn't safe. Lori is tricked by some villains from the Phantom Zone who contact her telepathically using her telepathy against her, and they convince her to open a box. Open a box. What's in the box? There's this mystery box, and it's full of a dangerous element from space that Superman's using to make this serum. And she opens it, and she gets poisoned because it's type of radiation. She's dying, and it's fatal, because of course it is.
You did this awful thing, didn't you? How could you harm Lori, who never hurt anyone?
By destroying your third wife, we've achieved vengeance supreme. Well, now you're never getting out of the Phantom Zone. This one feels a little padded. They have Superman go back and investigate the machine that told them they'd be happy, and it turns out that when they looked at it at first, there were some electric eels going by, and that corrupted the machine, and it gave him a false reading. What it really meant to say was that if they got married, Lori would die. Superman goes back to fighting crime, for what else can he do? And to perfecting that super serum, which he does once he adds Chemical X.
Thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born!
Success. If I'd discovered this formula earlier, the lives of my wives could have been saved. There's only enough of this rare serum here to make one dose. If I had been within my power to rescue only one of my wives, which one would I have saved? Lois, Lana, Lori. Which one, I wonder? Which one? Which one?
And so ends our imaginary novel, which may or may not ever happen. Readers, which of his 3 wives do you think Superman would have saved if he could only save one? Firstly, couldn't he actually do this because he can time travel and he's got the serum and he can bring it back? Is that how his time travel works? Maybe he could save one if he wanted to. Also, I would assume Lois, because her name is on the cover of the magazine. I mean, it's not that much of a question, right, Clark? Clark? The hoops this story jumped through to end all of these marriages in a death, and yet also maintain the positive marriage mandate that was part of this version of the code. Impressive. Code skirted. This is such an odd, outlandish tale. It's so committed to the premise that it becomes amusing. In my estimation, at least. Some will find it morbid and horrifying. I feel like Lori had the least interesting death. Lois's was the most tragic, and Lana's felt a bit poetic. But those are just my opinions. What do you think of the deaths? I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Who do you think Superman would have saved? Do you wish Elseworlds sometimes just went off the rails like this? Not all the time, but sometimes, maybe a couple of times. We could have this instead of stories about Batman eating a cheeseburger. This poison will give my wife powers. What did you think of this tale? Who do you think had the best death story? And who do you think that Superman would have picked? Share your thoughts down below. And while you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time today spent discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.